On the day of the award ceremony, just because of a word from my first love, my wife framed me for stealing the championship. I argued my case, but my first love burst into tears and set himself on fire, rather than compromising with the world. Eventually, he won the applause of everyone and became famous far and wide. As for me, I was blacklisted by the industry, my reputation in tatters, and I died in a pigsty. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my wife reported me. This time, I beat her to it and reported my first love, leaving him with no way out. The champion of this competition is James. As soon as I opened my eyes, the bright spotlights all fell on me. From the audience below the stage, waves of applause surged towards me. But I noticed that in the corner, only my wife, Sophia, looked indifferent and never clapped. I stared at her cold eyes and couldn't help clenching my fists. I couldn't believe I had been reborn. Standing on the award stage again, looking at the trophy in my hand, I felt no excitement at all, only a deep sense of chill. In my past life, when I stood on this award stage like this, I was so high-spirited. The moment the host announced that I was the champion, I excitedly invited Sophia onto the stage, ready to share this hard-won joy with her. But in front of tens of thousands of people, she directly smashed my trophy, publicly reporting me as a thief who had stolen the championship from her first love, David. Before I could explain, Sophia, with the whole event being live broadcasted, threw me a divorce agreement, publicly announcing that she wanted to divorce me and cut off the relationship between our two families. From beginning to end, I never thought that after 5 years of marriage, Sophia would abandon me for a man she had known for less than a year. Thinking of this, I took a deep breath, turned my head, and avoided Sophia's gaze, no longer planning to invite her to the stage to share this honor with me. Seeing that I didn't speak for a long time, Sophia seemed a bit surprised. She was stunned for a while, and her eyes looking at me became even colder. I thought she probably hated me even more. The host beside me came closer and asked me to give an acceptance speech and introduce the design concept of the wedding dress behind me. As soon as I took the microphone, Sophia, as if receiving some kind of signal, quietly walked towards the backstage and stopped beside a strange man. Even though he was wearing a baseball cap, I recognized him at a glance. It was David, Sophia's beloved first love. He had clearly been eliminated in the preliminary round, but at this moment, a flash of pride passed through his eyes. My face immediately darkened. In my past life, while Sophia and I were arguing, David rushed up to play the good guy, saying that since Sophia and I were husband and wife, there was no need to hurt our relationship for an outsider like him. A championship was just a thing, and if I had it, it was my luck. He said he just didn't have that good fortune. I was so angry at that time that I couldn't stand his weak-looking tone. I rushed up to reason with him. But before I could say anything, David suddenly fell to the ground, looking extremely painful. Sophia immediately flew into a rage. After helping David up, she rushed to me and asked why I had hit him, accusing me of being the new company president but having no tolerance or integrity. Just because she had helped David a few more times in the company, I not only targeted him everywhere on weekdays, but now I even wanted to take away his only chance to turn things around. Seeing Sophia getting more and more excited, I had to explain that the wedding dress was my design, and it was David who was lying and deliberately trying to stir up trouble between us. I thought things would come to light then, but David suddenly took out a lighter, burned the wedding dress I designed, and with a look of determination, lit his own coat, saying that he would rather set himself on fire than compromise with the world. Sophia panicked. After saving David with tears in her eyes, she slapped me in public, saying that she had misjudged me and would blacklist me along with my family. I was speechless. My award was immediately revoked, and my family kicked me out to protect their business. David, the mastermind behind all this, married Sophia in a glorious manner, becoming the son-in-law of a wealthy family. On their wedding day, he deliberately disabled my limbs and locked me in a pigsty to wait for death. It was only then that I learned the truth from him. Everything was a well-laid conspiracy. Because of his jealousy of my background and his shame at my help, he wanted me to be ruined and experience the feeling of being at the bottom. Eventually, I starved to death in the pigsty, and my body became pig feed, with no one knowing. However, this time, none of this will happen. Sure enough, as soon as I made up my mind, Sophia angrily rushed towards me. Below the stage, David watched all this, and a proud smile appeared on his lips. But before Sophia could get on the stage, I held the microphone tightly and spoke first. I report that there is a thief on the scene. My words immediately caused a commotion at the scene. Seeing me take the initiative, David was stunned on the spot. But soon, he pretended to be anxious and shouted, "Thief? Where is the thief?" Hearing that I was going to report someone, Sophia stopped in her tracks at this moment and said with an unhappy face, "James, can you have some sense of shame? David didn't report you. Why do you say he is a thief? I think you're just jealous of his talent." But looking at Sophia angrily standing up for David, I couldn't help laughing. "Sophia, when did I say David was a thief? Or do you already know that he is the mastermind?" Hearing this, Sophia's face suddenly turned red. She stammered for a long time before explaining, "James, everyone knows you're a well-known playboy. There's not a single word of truth in your mouth.
This design exhibition was invested and organized by my Sophia family. I, Sophia, am willing to guarantee with my personality that this competition is absolutely fair and just, and there is no such thing as a thief. Looking at Sophia acting like a righteous person, I just felt speechless. Sophia was still the same as in my past life, still brainless. David just played the victim and won some sympathy, and she was completely fooled. Thinking of this, I pointed at David on the stage and said speechlessly, "Sophia, are you blind? Isn't the thief standing right in front of you?" Hearing himself being called a thief, David's face fell a lot. But what I didn't expect was that the next second, David directly knelt down on the ground, pinched himself hard, squeezed out a few tears, and said pitifully, "Mr. James, I know I was wrong. I'm just a country bumpkin who came out of the mountains. I shouldn't have gotten so close to Miss Sophia and made you angry. Whether you want to fire me or make me leave this industry, I can accept it. But I'm really not a thief. Please stop targeting me and spare me a way out." At the end of David's words, he seemed to be so wrong that he slumped weakly on the ground, crying heartbreakingly, making the whole venue silent. But looking at David's sobbing appearance, I just felt nauseous. When did I target him? Usually in the company, his professional level was the worst. Considering that he was recommended by Sophia, I turned a blind eye and endured it. Even when he caused the project to disband and the company to lose millions, I didn't ask him to pay a penny, just told him to be careful next time. But in his words, I became a narrow-minded and stingy boss. But many of the people at the scene were office workers who had worked overtime on the weekend to participate in the selection. David's words immediately aroused the resentment of many people. I can't believe it. This James looks decent on the surface, but he's so vicious behind the scenes. He can't control his woman, so he takes it out on his employees. I think he's just jealous of my David's talent. Besides his background, in terms of talent, looks, and character, David beats James in every way. Sure enough, none of the rich people are good. Hearing the discussions of the people below the stage, Sophia seemed to gain some confidence. Like a proud hen, she walked up to me with her head held high and said indignantly, "James, do you know how important innocence is to a boy? A man's knees are as precious as gold. He's already knelt down. Do you have to make him dig out his heart to prove his innocence? David must be so diligent and hard working to come out of such a harsh environment in the mountains. How could he be the kind of person who steals? I think you're the one who's making false accusations and being the first to sue. You have no shame, and I'm ashamed for you." Before David could even respond, Sophia became more and more excited. Spittle flew out of her mouth and landed on my face. She seemed to want to drown me with her saliva, as if I were her father, killing enemy. Looking at her furious appearance, I felt extremely speechless. In my past life, how could I have found such a brain-dead wife? Before we were even divorced, she was already sticking to David, calling him by his name. Anyone who didn't know would think they were the couple. Before I could speak, David stood up on his own initiative, blocked in front of Sophia, and said hypocritically, "Miss Sophia, no matter what, it was Mr. James who gave me a job. The championship is just an external thing. I don't care about it. But that wedding dress is all my hard work of this year. I just hope Mr. James can be merciful and keep that wedding dress." Listening to David's explanation, I looked directly at him and sneered, "Your hard work? Since you keep saying that this wedding dress is your design work, then tell me, who is the design prototype of this wedding dress?" Hearing my question, David was stunned for a moment, then said with a shy face, "Actually, the design prototype of this wedding dress is Miss Sophia. Since Miss Sophia saved me in the vast crowd a year ago and gave me the opportunity to engage in art, I've fallen in love with her deeply. But I know my lowly status. I'm far from worthy of a pearl like her. So I've been studying and practicing hard for the past 3 years, delving into design, hoping that one day I can stand on the championship podium and present my work to Miss Sophia to make her smile." In an instant, Sophia's cheeks turned bright red, and her eyes were full of love. The people at the scene were even more amazed, and their eyes looking at me became more disgusted. Wow, David is not only handsome and talented, but he's also so affectionate. I'm in love. Indeed, David and Miss Sophia are a match made in heaven. This James is shameless. He steals someone else's work and also tries to break up their relationship. Hearing the discussions around me, I felt speechless. Clearly, Sophia was my wife, and it was David who intervened. In the end, it became me who was destroy others' feelings. However, this time, I wasn't blinded by anger. Instead, looking at the confident David on the stage, I smiled lightly and said, "David, you've investigated carefully, and your acting skills are excellent. Unfortunately, the prototype of this wedding dress is not Sophia, but my mother." Hearing my explanation, the people at the scene exclaimed. The smile in David's eyes was instantly replaced by panic. Looking at David's bewildered appearance, I couldn't help but sneer. "My mother left me due to a massive hemorrhage on the day I was born. She was unmarried and pregnant at that time and never wore a single piece of wedding dress until she died. I designed this wedding dress just to comfort my mother's spirit in heaven and make up for her regret before her death, hoping that she can rest in peace." It has nothing to do with Sophia at all.
After a while, Sophia came to her senses first and snorted, "James, empty words are not enough.
What evidence do you have to prove that this wedding dress was designed by you?"
But looking at Sophia's stubborn appearance, I sneered, "Sophia, whether what I said is true or not, you can go up and measure the size, and you'll know." Hearing me say this, David's face turned green, and a flash of panic was clearly visible in his eyes. Below the stage, some people gradually woke up and wondered, "Yeah, Miss Sophia is so thin, and the size of this wedding dress is obviously much larger.
Could it be that David really stole the work?"
Suddenly, a single stone set off 1,000 waves.
The crowd cast disgusted glances at David and shouted, "I really can't tell.
This David looks cleanly cut, but he's actually a thief."
That's right.
Mr. James was kind enough to give him a job, but he turned out to be an ungrateful wretch.
Does he think he's the president of the group after staying by Mr. James's side for so long?
Looking at his jealous appearance just now, he might be a person with a twisted mind. Hearing the abuse from the crowd, David clenched his fists tightly, the veins on his forehead bulging. His eyes looking at me seemed to want to devour me alive. I thought he would stop there, but what I didn't expect was that the next second, David took out a lighter and, in the shocked eyes of everyone, directly lit the wedding dress. With tears in his eyes, he smiled bitterly, "Only now do I understand why people cry when they are born.
Coming to this world is really painful. Is it only when I die that everyone can stop arguing? Is it only when I die that everyone can get what they want?
I can't prove my innocence, but at least, I have the right to leave." At the emotional part, David looked at Sophia affectionately, "Miss Sophia, I'm leaving.
I wish you happiness."
Before Sophia could speak, David resolutely lit his clothes, showing a distorted face, as if being burned severely by the flames.
"David, no."
Seeing David in a miserable state, Sophia immediately rushed up and threw his burning coat aside.
But looking at David's performance, I couldn't help laughing.
What not compromising with the world was just an attempt to destroy evidence. With the little flames on David, it was impossible for him to set himself on fire.
A gentle breath would probably blow them out. After hearing my laughter, Sophia couldn't hold back anymore. She rushed to me and slapped me. "How can you still laugh? That's a living life. In your eyes, are people only divided into high and low? Isn't the life of a poor person a life? James, I want to divorce you."
Hearing Sophia say she wanted to divorce, everyone present gasped and started discussing.
The Sophia family is one of the 4 major families in our local area. If they divorce, where will the James family's face be put?
And the Sophia family cares most about Sophia, their little daughter.
Mr. James has made such a fuss. I'm afraid the entire James family will suffer.
With the discussions of the people around, the arrogance in Sophia's eyes was about to overflow. Like a proud hen, she held her head high, looking confident of winning.
But I couldn't help shaking my head, worried about Sophia's IQ.
The Sophia family is one of the 4 major local families, and they are from a noble family.
But the marriage between Sophia and me was proposed by the Sophia family to the James family. In the past 2 years, due to the influence of the general environment, the Sophia family has been outwardly strong but inwardly weak.
Their glory is no longer what it used to be, and the industries under their name are on the verge of collapse. They can barely operate with the help of the James family. The Sophia family was willing to marry Sophia to me because they were optimistic about the growing momentum of the James family in recent years and wanted to attach themselves to the James family to continue the family's glory. This is also why Sophia, who didn't love me that much, was still forced by the Sophia family to marry me. As for David, he was definitely not as clean as he claimed. In my past life, I learned a lot of his great achievements from his mouth. He was not a child who came out of the mountains through hard work at all. Instead, he was addicted to gambling, squandered his family property, abandoned his wife and children, and came to this strange city. In the year he worked in my company, he owed a lot of debts, causing the company to be splashed with paint and have its windows smashed many times, affecting its normal operation. He created the persona of a hard-working person just to get closer to Sophia and become the son-in-law of the Sophia family, achieving a once-and-for-all solution. If the Sophia family knew that their precious daughter wanted to divorce me for a lying gambler, they would probably be so angry that they would break her legs. Thinking of this, I said indifferently with a smile, "Okay, divorce then. But remember, Miss Sophia, it's me, James, who takes the initiative to divorce you."
Sophia obviously didn't expect me to agree.
She was stunned on the spot, and all the color drained from her face.
After a while, she roared like a raging lion, "James, you'll regret it." After saying that, Sophia took David's hand and was about to leave. But I ordered people to block the door and looked at the two coldly. "You stole my championship, burned my hard work in public, and put the blame on the James family group. Do you think you can leave without paying the price?" Seeing me block the door, Sophia's face darkened. She said coldly, "James, what exactly do you want to do? Even if you can trap my body, you can't trap my heart. I won't be soft-hearted and get back together with you." Hearing Sophia's naive threat, I couldn't help laughing.
Until now, this love-struck Sophia was still immersed in her own world, thinking that I still loved her and was begging her to get back together. Little did she know that even a single glance at her now would make my stomach churn with disgust. Before I could say anything, David put on an act and rushed in front of Sophia, shielding her tightly. He said with tears streaming down his face, "Miss Sophia, don't worry about me. Mr. James is after me. I'm already content to die knowing that you've done so much for me. I'm just a poor guy from the mountains. My life is worthless, and it's not worth you sacrificing anything more for me." After saying that, David walked towards me, looking as if he was ready to die and take me down with him. I was about to push him away, but before my hand could touch him, he sneered at me, then suddenly let out a wail and fell heavily to the ground. Sophia was immediately flustered. She quickly helped him up and shouted at me, "James, have you had enough? You've already made him like this, and you still want to hit him?" Before I could explain, David pretended to be magnanimous and said hypocritically, "It's okay, Miss Sophia. Don't blame Mr. James. I'm just too weak and clumsy, and I fell on my own. After all, you and Mr. James were husband and wife. I'm just the son of a farmer, of lowly status, and I'm not worthy of you. Don't worry about me anymore." The more David said this, the more Sophia cried. "David, don't say that about yourself. You're the best man in the world. As long as I'm here, no one can bully you." After saying that, Sophia wiped her tears and coldly scolded me, "James, you've gone too far today. You must publicly apologize to David and give him half of the company's shares as compensation. Otherwise, you're challenging the bottom line of my Sophia family." I couldn't help but sneer at Sophia's demands. Apologize? Why didn't he apologize to me when he stole my design and slandered me for abusing him? If only he... But before I could finish, Sophia coldly interrupted me, took out her phone, and said indifferently, "That's enough, James. You've really disappointed me. A scumbag like you doesn't deserve to set foot in the design circle. I'm calling the police right now. Let's see who can still protect you." As soon as David heard that Sophia was going to call the police, his face changed instantly, and he said nervously, "Miss Sophia, don't call the police. You don't have to go this far for me. Just give Mr. James what he wants. I really don't mind." Unfortunately, Sophia was completely smitten at this moment and wouldn't listen to any persuasion. She took David's hand and comforted him, "David, don't worry. As long as I'm here, no one can falsely accuse you of being unethical." Before long, under David's frustrated gaze, Sophia called the police. After hearing the whole story of what happened at the venue, the police immediately demanded to check the surveillance in the backstage. Ignoring David's hint, Sophia glanced at me triumphantly and then said impatiently, "A clear conscience fears no false accusations. This design competition was organized by my Sophia family. Check the surveillance as you like. Let's see if someone won't come crying and begging me to spare him later." I couldn't help but laugh when I saw Sophia's confident look. This fool, she didn't know yet who would be begging whom. Soon, the police found the backstage surveillance and played the video from before the competition. In the video, a man sneaked into the backcourt of the competition furtively, stopped in front of the wedding dress I designed, and then spat on it. Although his face couldn't be clearly seen, because the venue was invested by the Sophia family, David never dreamed that the backstage surveillance was so advanced that it even had a recording function. What kind of bullshit design? It's just a crappy wedding dress. Pretending to be so high-end. Just because you're richer than me? Pretending to be magnanimous all day long. Don't think I don't know you look down on me in your heart. Today, I'm going to take everything from you and make you completely ruined." Suddenly, an uproar erupted throughout the venue. This is conclusive evidence. That's clearly David's voice. I can't believe Mr. James was telling the truth. This David is so shameless. So what if someone is rich? Is that a reason for you to steal and slander others? Disgusting. What kind of tragic hero persona? He's just an ungrateful wretch, in my opinion. Seeing that his scheme was exposed, David's face turned ashen, and he stood there, stunned and... As for Sophia, she finally realized that she had been deceived. I thought she might have some sense and would apologize to me. But to my surprise, Sophia tightly held David's hand and stubbornly said, So what? I'm the organizer of the competition. I can give this award to whoever I want. James, don't you just want the championship title? Here you go. Why push people to the edge? Once David is arrested, he'll have a criminal record. It doesn't matter to you as a wealthy young master, but what about his life and future? Don't you consider that at all? I just felt speechless at Sophia's questioning. Sister, did I force him to steal my things by holding his head down? Looking at Sophia's unreasonable appearance, I didn't bother to argue with her anymore and handed the matter over to the police entirely. Soon, David was handcuffed and taken away, glaring at me maliciously. I didn't pay him any attention and just took a car back to the company. Later, Sophia, on behalf of the Sophia family, took the initiative to compensate for my losses.
Plus, since David didn't cause very serious consequences, he was released a few days later. I directly fired David. No matter how much he knelt down and pleaded pitifully, I didn't bother to say a word and just asked the security guards to drive him away. I thought this matter would end there. But I underestimated David's vengefulness. Early the next morning, before I even got out of bed, I was woken up by a call from my assistant. "Mr. James, something's wrong. The video of you bullying others with your power is trending on the internet, and everyone is demanding an explanation from you." I quickly picked up my phone and looked at the trending topics. I couldn't help twitching the corner of my mouth. James family president bullies with power, the pure love warrior David, fate has never been fair. All the topics on the trending list were about the previous events related to David. Even at the top of the list, there was a self-justifying video posted by David. In the video, David looked battered and bruised, kneeling on the ground, crying and snot running, as if he was being coerced, kowtowing and pleading. "Mr. James, please spare me. We're all simple people from the mountains, and we don't know anything. You can deduct my salary and scold me in the company as you like, but my blind old mother is innocent. Her old bones really can't take this kind of torture. Mr. James, if you see this video, please be merciful and spare us a way out." The comments section of the video was filled with abuse and rumors about me. "Think being rich makes you great? You're just a rich prick. What's the big deal? Guys, let's expose him together. I've got inside information. I heard this young master of the James family has a really messy personal life. Think being rich makes you invincible? What goes around comes around. Just you wait. Outrage. Are we rural people not worthy of being human? I really misjudged you before. I didn't expect you to be such a despicable person. Report him. We must report him. Since he likes to bully others with his power, let's make his company go bankrupt." Under the large-scale righteous sanctions of netizens, the company's stock price plummeted. Even many investors from the company's board of directors called me, asking me to take responsibility and demanding that I apologize publicly as soon as possible to minimize the negative impact on the company. I suddenly felt a headache. Since I left the design exhibition that day, I hadn't seen David again. Where could I have beaten him? Besides, he had already abandoned his wife and children. Where did he get a blind old mother? But it was impossible to clarify such rumors in a short time. Even if I took legal action, collecting various materials and evidence would be quite troublesome. Now that things had come to this, even Sophia's company was putting pressure on us, using local public opinion to suppress our company's stock price. Many investors even called to say they wanted to withdraw their investments, fearing being affected by the public opinion. It was obvious that this was another self-directed and self-acted play by David, trying to force me to submit. I was just about to go to the company to calm the anger of the board of directors. But when the car was halfway there, it was blocked at a corner without surveillance. Soon, David jumped out from a bush. "Yo, if it isn't Mr. James. Why the long face? Did something big happen?" Now that Sophia wasn't around, David simply dropped his disguise. He no longer had his previous gentle appearance. Holding a knife in his hand, he looked at me menacingly, with an arrogant attitude, completely different from the day before. I couldn't help clenching my fists and gritted my teeth, saying, "David, why ask? That video was a trap you set for me on purpose, right?" Hearing this, David just shrugged indifferently and said proudly, "So what if it was a trap? Who asked you to ruin my plan? If it weren't for you, I would have already been with Sophia and gotten the assets of the Sophia family by now." Seeing that I didn't speak, David snorted coldly, took out an agreement from his bag, and threw it in front of me. "Mr. James, you've seen what's being said on the internet. It's simple to solve this. First, transfer $50 million to us, and then give me half of the company's shares so that I can take over your company. Otherwise, I'll make you ruined and make sure you never have a peaceful life." I frowned and asked, "What if I don't?" David sneered, directly opened his phone, and in the photo album was the video of him being severely beaten that day. Besides, there were also many face-swapped pictures that were PS forged, with Sophia's face on them. "You must still like that girl Sophia, right? If you don't give in, don't blame me for posting these things online. I can't guarantee what those people on the internet will say then." I couldn't help but sneer, "Sophia has been pretty good to you. Is it necessary to be so ruthless?" Hearing this, David sneered, picked up his phone, and waved it triumphantly. "Ha, do you really think I can't see through it? You rich people never regarded us as one of your own. You just use me as a tool to show off your superiority. Anyway, you're so rich. What's wrong with sharing some with me?" Listening to David's explanation, I even felt it wasn't worth it for Sophia. This David was truly an ungrateful wretch. But looking at David's complacent appearance, I couldn't help clenching my phone and laughing. Still laughing when you're about to die. Hurry up and transfer the money to my account. Otherwise, when I get back, I'll start a live stream and play the victim. Then, let those people on the internet curse you to death. Let's see how the James family does business then. I looked at the complacent David, picked up the phone in the car, and showed him the live streaming interface. I don't have the money. Ask them for it. You? When did you start the live stream? David's face turned pale, and his voice trembled. Obviously, he didn't expect that the entire conversation just now had been live streamed. I just smiled lightly and shrugged. I was about to do a live stream to respond to this matter, and you just had to barge in. At this moment, as the whole conversation between me and David was live streamed, it immediately caused a huge stir on the internet. In the live streaming room, countless netizens who had been scolding me just now immediately turned their guns on David and started attacking him. I knew there would be a reversal. Exactly. This guy is clearly not a good person. Likes to play tricks, huh? Damn it, I'm going to expose this heartless bastard today. As the person involved in this matter, David's face changed instantly. Now that things had escalated so much, there was no room for turning back. Once the rumor making was confirmed, he would not only be scolded and blacklisted by the whole network but also might be arrested directly for spreading false information. Realizing the consequences, David panicked and tried to snatch my phone. No, it's not like that. Everyone, don't be fooled. James deliberately tricked me into saying those things just now. He threatened me. But I just dodged David easily. The netizens in the live streaming room, who had been tricked, were already furious and had nowhere to vent their anger. Naturally, they wouldn't believe his lies anymore and started cursing at him. Still pretending. You're so shameless. I know this David. He's married and has 2 children. You guys don't know. In an instant, all kinds of David's dark past were dug out by the angry netizens. David completely broke down, knelt on the ground, and pleaded, "Mr. James, please give me another chance, okay? I really know I was wrong. I'll never do it again. I'll go and clarify things on the internet right now. Please don't sue me, okay?" But looking at David's sobbing appearance, I felt no sympathy at all. Instead, I even found it a bit funny. Regret now? It's too late. Say whatever you have to say to my lawyer later. As soon as David heard that I was going to hire a lawyer, he was completely dumbfounded. He knelt down on the ground, crying bitterly, "It's over. It's all over." Seeing that his life was about to be ruined, David got desperate. He pointed at my nose and cursed, "James, what exactly do you want? I've already apologized. Can't you just let me go? Do you really have to force me to death to be happy?" I looked at David and sneered, "Stop morally blackmailing me. When you were maliciously editing and spreading rumors about me on the internet, why didn't you think about giving me a way out? I'll follow the legal procedures and entrust my lawyer to handle this matter. As for you, just wait to go to jail." After saying that, I was about to drive David away. But to my surprise, David stared at me intently. Before I could react, he clenched the fruit knife in his hand and stabbed at me. "You ruined my life. Let's die together then. I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Looking at David charging at me with a knife, my pupils suddenly shrank. At the critical moment, a car suddenly hit David and knocked him away, and I wasn't injured. I took a closer look and saw that it was Sophia. As soon as Sophia arrived, David rolled his eyes and put on a pitiful look again, pleading, "Miss Sophia, Mr. James just tried to kill me." "You quickly." But before David could finish, Sophia slapped him, her eyes cold. "David, I really misjudged you. Even now, you're still lying. Do you deserve my trust?" Seeing that Sophia also knew the truth, David no longer pretended. He immediately drove away. After calling the police, Sophia rushed to me, bit her lips, and said in a low voice, "James, I was deceived by David before. It was wrong of me to frame you. I apologize. Regarding the divorce matter before." Before Sophia could finish, I coldly interrupted her, "Forget it. There's no way we can get back together. Let's part ways amicably." Seeing that I didn't give her face, Sophia's face changed instantly, and she said unhappily, "James, I'm from one of the 4 major families. Am I not worthy of your James family? Leaving aside the facts, even if I was wrong and believed David's lies, are you completely innocent?" Listening to Sophia's absurd remarks, I felt like I had dodged a bullet. If I hadn't experienced this, if I had really brought this troublemaker home, no matter how much assets the James family had, it wouldn't be enough for Sophia to squander. Thinking of this, I didn't bother to argue with her anymore. I drove away, leaving Sophia sobbing in the wind. To my surprise, after that, Sophia didn't come to harass me again. Instead, she put all her energy into dealing with the previous matters related to David. Without my investment vision, and having lost the support of the James family, the Sophia family not only couldn't maintain the facade of one of the 4 major families but now even had trouble maintaining the normal operation of the Sophia family group's original business. Naturally, they had no time to care about me.
And because of this incident, I became famous overnight, won the favor of many suppliers, successfully attracted investment, expanded the company's scale, and started new projects, ready to make great achievements and let the James family replace the 4 major families.
Outside the window, it was pouring rain.
I was just about to look up some information when a strange message popped up on my phone. It was from Sophia, whom I hadn't seen for a long time. I thought she was asked by the Sophia family to borrow money from me to help the Sophia family through the difficulties. But to my surprise, there was only a short sentence in the text message: "James, I miss you so much."
I couldn't help laughing when I saw the message from Sophia. This fool only came to me when her company couldn't operate properly. What was she doing before?
In the past, whenever Sophia acted coquettishly or lost her temper with me, I couldn't stand it. I would have dropped all my work immediately to comfort her. But now, seeing Sophia getting rebuffed, a sense of smugness flashed through my mind. Looking at the pouring rain outside the window, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but turn up slightly. I replied, "Sure, I'll be waiting for you at that restaurant you used to go to often."
After sending the message, I immediately turned off my phone.
A good horse doesn't eat the grass behind it. It's too late for her to realize my worth now. Let her go to that gambler David to solve her problems. Soon, I put Sophia's matter aside.
Despite the wind and rain outside, I focused on analyzing the company's business direction and project issues. However, by late afternoon, suddenly, an angry shout came from outside the office: "Where's James? I want to see him. Miss Sophia, Mr. James is still busy right now."
"You?" Before the security guard could finish, with a bang, Sophia, soaked to the skin, burst into the office and stared straight at me, her eyes filled with anger.
I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. I hesitated for a moment whether to call the police and have Sophia taken away.
After all, judging by her posture, she was clearly here to pick a fight, and I didn't know how much of my precious work time she'd waste. Just as I was about to show her the door, the next moment, Sophia suddenly burst into tears. Her eyes were bloodshot, and hot tears streamed down her cheeks. "James, you clearly said you'd cherish me, protect me, and love me for a lifetime, like a little princess.
Why are you abandoning me now? You liar."
By the end, Sophia was sobbing uncontrollably, looking as if she'd suffered a great injustice. But looking at Sophia's pitiable appearance, I felt not a single ripple in my heart.
I even found it a bit laughable.
During these 5 years of marriage, I tried to love her and take care of her.
But what did my 5-year-long deep affection get me in return?
It got me the trampling of my dignity time and time again, and the betrayal of our relationship.
How many times did I stay alone in the office, watching her chatting and laughing with David, while she never once looked back to consider my feelings?
Thinking of this, I took a deep breath and said numbly, "Sophia, think carefully.
Over the years, who was the one who abandoned whom first? Do you really think you've treated me right?" Hearing my question, Sophia's face instantly turned pale.
She clearly realized something and couldn't utter a word for a long while.
"James, listen to me.
I was just carried away for a moment and was deceived by David. After all, we've been married for so many years. I really didn't betray you, and I would never abandon you."
But looking at Sophia's anxious look, I sneered, "So what? Is this the reason why you ignored and humiliated me again and again for David?"
"Even if there was no David, there would be other people like Su Tingqing or Xiao Tingqing in the future.
How can you expect me to trust you?" At this point, I was too lazy to explain any further.
I simply laid it on the line: "Sophia, drop your spoiled brat attitude and stop daydreaming.
Open your phone and check the news. Your Sophia family is on the verge of collapse." Sophia's brows immediately knitted together, and she demanded, "James, what? What do you mean?" In response, I directly threw my phone to Sophia.
Her face turned deathly pale.
Due to David's incident, the Sophia family had also been implicated.
Those precarious and unknown truths were quickly dug out by those with a keen eye, along with all kinds of shady stories from when the Sophia family first made their fortune. Suddenly, the Sophia family was besieged on all sides. Everyone was ready to take a share and completely devour the Sophia family. Before Sophia could react, the Sophia family called her. "Sophia, are you crazy? Who told you to divorce James privately? Now only the James family can save our Sophia family. No matter what means you use, go and apologize to Mr. James immediately. Otherwise, don't come back home." Hearing the roar from the other end of the phone, Sophia's face turned livid, and tears streamed down her face even more.
"James, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Please have mercy and save our Sophia family, okay? I'll do anything you ask. Please forgive me and give me another chance, okay? I will definitely."
At this moment, many of my employees, who love to watch a good show, gathered around Sophia and me. Sophia's pitiful appearance naturally made many people feel sorry for her, and they raised their phones to record. Encouraged by the onlookers, a brighter smile appeared on Sophia's face, as if she was certain that I would agree to her request and get back together with her. But I just felt disgusted. Even now, she was still trying to pressure me with the recordings of the people around her, attempting to use the same tactics as David, playing the victim and morally blackmailing me to force me to agree to her demands. She never seemed to understand that only sincerity can earn sincerity. Thinking of this, just as she had mercilessly hurt me before, I left without looking back. I immediately went downstairs, opened the car door, and before Sophia could say anything, I stepped on the gas pedal all the way to the floor, spraying exhaust fumes in Sophia's face as I drove away. Belated affection is cheaper than grass. Moreover, after this farce, I'd become indifferent to these things. Compared with fame, fortune, and love, my family and my career are what truly deserve my protection.